We started Livongo with a vision of transforming the health and care experiences of people living with chronic conditions. We started with diabetes, and this was just the beginning.
You probably remember this when you called me, I think it was 2012. You said, hey, can we meet some of the tech companies working on healthcare in the Valley? We spent, I think there were like 8 companies, 30-minute speed dating meetings that you met them all, and then we went to dinner. And I'll never forget what you said. I don't know how to tell you this, but these companies aren't really going to make it because they are these technologists that don't understand the complexities of the healthcare market. And that was an important insight that became the basis of how we created the Livongo culture.
Livongo, that name came from our exploration that said, what do the people who have diabetes say? And what they say is, I just want to live my life and I'm on the go. And hence Livongo. And that really had a meaning. And a third of the people that worked at the business either had diabetes or knew someone in their family who did. And we had everybody in the company prick their finger every day. And the idea was you've got to feel a little bit of that experience of what it's like to have to do that. And you have to use the technology. And so this was constantly learning about how to create that experience. You know, and that was something near and dear to my heart. Obviously, my own experience with Sam, my youngest son, who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 8. And you know the frustration, we talked about it, of how hard we make it in healthcare for someone who wants to stay healthy to be healthy. Every turn, it was a challenge to get test strips, to get needles. And that whole frustration, in part, inspired and informed the experience that we created at Livongo.
I think that was the secret to why Livongo became a category-defining company. There's always sort of a personal struggle or an experience that drives a company, and I do think that authenticity really mattered. The tech orientation was always engage more and more. That's what social media was teaching us at that time. And the healthcare perspective is people want to be healthy. They don't want to think about their disease. The early years were just overall tough. The solution was looked at as not very differentiated. The business model was new. Series B was hard. We pretty much led or co-led every round since then till the IPO.
And as an entrepreneur leading a company, you kind of have to be able to say, I don't know where we're getting our next round. I don't know how we're going to make payroll a year from now, 12 months from now, 8 months from now. And on the other hand, going to your people and saying, we're doing something really important. But that's also really hard because remember, everybody didn't welcome Livongo with open arms. We had some very big companies who were adverse to us. And I remember walking into you one day and showing you a letter, and the letter said,
I remember this.
If you use Livongo, we will charge you more than we're currently charging you to use our existing diabetes service. And your answer was, well, save the letter, because if this doesn't work, we'll at least get our money back based on that letter.
That's right. That's
and we laughed about it, but it wasn't really all that funny. It was a big challenge. And fortunately, one of the employers stepped up and said, we're the ones paying the bill. This is a better service and we're going to use it. And that was, again, another one of these moments where it could have gone either way. I always say to younger entrepreneurs, you can get money from a lot of places, but what you really are looking for is a partner who will help you build the business. Someone who can tell you when you're off, someone who can compliment you, And it was that moment where he kind of said, look, we understand each other. And, I think both of us take joy from the creation process. We get energy. We love the interaction with entrepreneurs. Yeah. This generates energy for us. So it's not really work.
A lot of decisions that in hindsight looked like amazing decisions.
Well, there was also there was a lot of trust. And you can say, I'm not going to trust you until I get experience. Or you say, I'm going to throw in and I'm going to trust you.
Yeah.
And we both leaned in. I think that was one thing. Two, there was a lot of humility, and that was, look, I'm happy to say I don't know a thing about that, and you're happy to say I'm not sure what this means.
I think that's the key. I think self-awareness on what you know, what you don't know, and also the fact that building is just messy. When I look at companies that are in our creation fund, and said these are companies that would not have existed had we not put the ingredients together, and had we not weaponized a set of people to go build a piece of the future that just wasn't going to happen. That's messy. And I think we were okay with the messiness.
There's a particular board member taking me to task on a number of categories, and you said, I don't think Glen's even read that slide.
That's right.
And I don't want him to read that slide. I want him 100% focused on building relationships with new clients and also on the member experience.
You will always have many imperfections. The question is, the things that matter, are you getting those right and are you leaning into them? And I think that's a big learning for us at that time. It was like, is that core thing working? We'll keep leaning into it and we'll fix the other stuff. Yeah, we made so many decisions when the whole push on open up the devices and use any devices. We're like, no, the consumer experience dictates, don't do that.
And we said, no, we have to control the experience 100%.
That's right.
And again, that was a seminal moment for the company, because had we opened it up, we wouldn't have been special. We'd rather have fewer people who love this. And that caught on, but that meant the growth was a lot slower. And if you look at that curve, it was pretty slow. And then all of a sudden
it's really
it took
inflected,
off.
Yeah. I think from our standpoint, doing this creation work has been really rewarding because A, creates as big outcomes. B, it's a place where we feel like it's net accretive to the ecosystem. And to your earlier point, humility, embracing the fact that these are hard companies to build, it teaches us how to be just better partners with the entrepreneurs.
My son called me one day and he said, I had my first Livongo moment. We never heard that term. I said, what happened? He said, at 4 a.m. I woke up, my blood sugar was so low that if I would have stood up out of bed, I would have had a seizure. And then my phone rang, and he said, and it was Sarah. And I said, well, who is Sarah? I assumed it was someone, that he knew from college. And he said, no, Sarah works for you. She's one of the coaches, and she called because she could see that I was in trouble. And he said, that was my Livongo moment. That's when you went from being a thing to a part of my life.
I think appreciating these moments requires radical collaboration. Because when you're sitting in Silicon Valley, you think about everything with a technology lens, you miss a lot of these human elements. So now we're saying, hey, can we put together a set of capabilities to help you build these platforms that can move these spaces forward?
When venture capital started, of course, it was called adventure capital, and it was an adventure, and it was big bets, but it was also about making a difference. And then we went through a stage where it was about making money, and now we're back to a stage where you're saying we can do both. Okay?
We have to do both.
We can do it responsibly, we can do it with innovation, we can make big bets, and we're going to have outsized returns.
Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we didn't sell Livongo?
I wonder about that.
Yeah.
And,
what comes to mind?
Look, the job wasn't finished. And that's why you talked about how quickly you said, what are we going to do next? Well, we had a little taste of what you could do. And no one had put those three together, an experience that people love, measurable improvements in care, and lower costs. And I think it whet our appetite. When we did the merger, our sense was this would accelerate the plan. And it didn't work out exactly that way. And I think you and I collectively have a feeling that, if we had to replay that, we would have kept it and doubled down again.
Here's what would have happened, right? Some stuff we already know. We'll still be running it, but we'll probably be serving 1.5 million to 2 million people. We actually would have been in the longer term much, much better off because we had a path to go serve, 10 million lives would have been $10 billion of revenue. No matter how you cut it, what multiple you put on it would have been an amazing outcome. For me, we created a proof point. It was an $18 billion sale, big outcome. And it basically proves to so many more entrepreneurs that it's worth getting into space.
You know, that's probably the most asked question that I get today is, you had this great outcome. Why would you do it again? And the answer is, we've got to get people more empowered in their own care. We've done that in every other sector. We've squeezed the middle. We've given people more control. You are happier about the fact you can order a car, you can book your own travel, you can do your own banking right from your phone. And yet in healthcare, we've almost gone the other way. So that's why we're here. But it is an uphill battle, and you need the resilience and you need the persistence to just keep going to battle. And that's the one great thing about healthcare. Who are you fighting for? You're fighting for members who you care about. That's why you need to pick the right partners. That's why, I love our partnership, and we have a lot more to do, but it wasn't a hard choice. And you say it was 30 minutes after. I think it was at least an hour or two before we said, what are we going to do next? And and I'm looking forward to a bright future and solving problems together.
Let's do it.